Hi everyone, this is an overview of creating your SGOs. There have been a lot of questions about them, so I just want to make sure that some questions could be answered through this platform. This is the website where you can find all the information you need on SGOs. You don't have to memorize the website, you can just Google NJ SGOs and you will come to this site. There are lots of resources that New Jersey put out for this year to help you create your SGOs, so feel free to look at everything. I'm just going to look at the form today and kind of walk through it a little bit. You can open it up in a PDF or Word. I suggest a Word document so that you can edit it. So here's the link where you're going to click on and you're going to get your SGO form. And I have one. So this is what the form looks like. You've seen it before. And I have one that I've completed already that I'm going to walk through with you right now. So here is the basics: your name, school, grade, course subject, number of students that you're using. The state suggests that you use all of your students in all of your courses for your SGO. That is up to you. You can use sections or subgroups or however you're going to do that, but the state does recommend, and you should know, that you use all of your students in your SGO. The interval of instruction here is suggested to be September through March because, so September 2015 through March of 2016, because we are going to do park testing the first week of April at the high school and the third week of April at Roy Brown and somewhere around there for all the other elementaries. And so April's going to be very busy. We also have spring break in there. So if you give your post-assessment in March, you have your SGO out of the way and you're not trying to give it around the park testing. So that's important. Here you're going to put in the content standards that you're going to cover, the Common Core standards that you're going to cover with this SGO, your rationale for how these standards are critical for the next level of your subject area, but also other disciplines. So what are they learning, not just about, let's say, social studies, but what are they learning about English and language arts, and what are they learning about any other subject area with this assessment in this SGO, and then how are you preparing them for life, college, and career. So the career readiness standards are for everybody, the Common Core, and so we need to put that into the rationale. You're also going to hear describe your assessment. So what is your assessment? How did you do it? That sort of thing right here in this box. Here, your starting points and preparedness grouping. So it's up to you if you have a tiered group or if you have all of your students. So if you have a tiered group, you're going to number them 1 to 3 or however, A, B, C, whatever you want to do. And then this is where you would put in how you know those students fall into these 3 groups. So you might take PSAT scores from last year if you have access to those. You would definitely want to take your pretest average score for each group because that's an important data point. The state also has a score called Future Readiness, and they recommend this as an information point. I'm not going to get into that today, but it is on the website if you want to check it out and if you want to use it. Most important is in this group you have to have at least one piece of information about these groups. You can't just have nothing in this chart. So something has to be here. Most likely it will at least be your pretest average score. And if you can get other data points to see where these students fall, that'd be great. You can use star data, whatever you have access to. Okay, so but definitely you want to do that first column with your preparedness groups. And if you're only doing one group and you're not doing tiered, then you can just put all right here and put in the information about your students. Here will be your student growth objective. And so you're going to write in exactly what percentage of students in each group will meet the target score. They give you an example here, and I've given you an example here, and then how these targets reflect ambitious and achievable scores for the students. So this is very important. They're looking for a little bit of information from you to explain how your SGO is ambitious and achievable for your students. They do want rigor in your SGO. So here I just put down 85% of students in Group 1 will score 2 or higher, 85% of students in Group 2 will score 4 or higher, and Group 3 you would put in another score that they can achieve. And here all I did was take my 3 preparedness groups. I put the number of students now because I haven't put that anywhere else yet. I might have in the first box, but I haven't officially put them anywhere else. So there's 10, there's 20, and there's 10. Here I have the target score on the SGO assessment. So whatever hypothetical assessment that is, these are the scores I want the students to score in on the post-test. So that's important there. So really it's coming from this narrative here, the sentences that I wrote here, to here. You're just dragging them down. Okay, so students in group 1 will score 2 or higher. The 2 is my target score here. Now here's the scoring plan, and this is where you get to rate yourself. So you are deciding on how you're going to score yourself for your SGO. I'm just going to bring it down so you can see the whole thing on one page. So here we have group 1, their target score is a 2. I wrote that up there. And how am I going to decide? So I said 85% of the students would score. So I'm going to give myself 85 to 90% of the students are going to score. That actually comes out to still just 9 students because I had 10 students in my preparedness group. And then here I'm going to put 70 to 84%. It's a little bit arbitrary, but there's only 10 students. So now if 7 to 8 students score that target score of a 2, I get a score of 2, partial score. And then here, 0 to 6 students. Now this might be too much for you. So you might say, ooh, you know what, I need to change that because that's not giving me a lot of room to move. So I might change this to, let's say, 55 to 84%. And then I just need to figure out what 55% is. So I take out my handy dandy calculator. And it would be 6 students. So then I could change this to 6 to 8 students, and then I would change this to 0 to 5. Still pretty ambitious goal, and that's what the state wants, so it works. So you would do the same thing here for groups 2 and 3. So here, if I keep the same percentages, because that's what I said in my goal, let's go back up and look at it. I said that 85% of students would score at their target score. So I have to stick with those numbers. So I'm going to stick with those same percentages. So I'm going to say 85% to 90% of students for all 3 groups are going to reach their target score, even though the target scores are different. And I'm just going to figure out what those numbers are for each group. And so I'm just going to type it in, and then here I'm going to stick with this percentage. It kind of worked. And I'm just going to copy that down. And oh, I didn't change this one when I changed it before, so I have to make sure to do that. So I'm going to change it to 0 to 54. I'm just going to copy it down. Make sure you're checking your math. Math is not my strong suit, so I keep checking it just to make sure that I'm doing it right, and I do make some mistakes. Okay, so now we just need to look back at how many students. There's 20 students are in group 2, so we're going to take that 20, and we're going to figure out what 85% of that 20 is. That's 17 students. So we're going to have here 17, 2, and what's 90% of that 20? Let me just do that right now. So 17 to 18 students here, and that means that here it's going to be 19 or more. 19 or more. And then here we're just going to figure out 55% is 11 students. And now if you get partial students, you cannot have a partial student. You're sitting in your classroom, so you're going to have to do the rounding up. So even if it's like, let's say this was 11.4 students, I would make that 12 students because I can't have a partial student. And here we're going to go 0 to 10 students. And you're just going to repeat that process going down to the third group, but really there's the same number of students in group 1 and group 3, so I can just take the same numbers. So I can just copy and paste that down. And that's my rubric. This is how I'm going to be scored on my SGO. And you need to be thoughtful about it. How is it really going to work for you and your students, and what's going to help them and you be most successful? So that's all you need to do here for this, at this point for October approval. And then you would sign it, have your principal and your supervisor sign it, however that works for you in your building, and then you would be done. However, you can start to fill out a little bit of this chart down here. This is what you're going to come back to when you give your post-assessment. You can fill in this information just so that you don't have to do it later. So you have your 3 preparedness groups again, and you can put in your weights. Now, how did I figure out these weights? Well, the way I did it was I took the number of students total, so 20, 10, and 10 is 40. And then I did the percentage of the class. So I hope I did this right. I'm going to, I don't think I did this right actually. So you're going to figure out the percentage of the class. So you're going to say that 10 students is 25%. Oh, that's funny. So 25% of the class is 10 students. And I had 10 students in 1 and 3. So then I have 50 here. I thought I did that right. I didn't. So you need to check your math again. So now if you had, let's say this is hypothetical in March, you have 9 students out of group 1 and group 3 get to the target score and 4 in group 2. So then you just look back up here at your rubric that you created and you look at 9 students gave me a score of 3. 4 students in group 3 actually gave me a score of 1. And 9 students in group 3 gave me a score of 3. So now I'm going to do this math over because obviously that's wrong. So I'm going to take my teacher SGO score, which is 3, and I'm going to multiply that by 25%. And this is a 0.75 right here. Who did this form? I have no idea. Not me. And then I'm going to take this 1 and I'm going to find out what is 50% of 1, which we should all know without having to do it, but for this purpose, I'm going to do everything on the calculator so you can see. And then here, we have the same score, same percentage, so we know it's 0.75. But you might want to check math because obviously I don't always do math correctly. So then you're going to add those 3 scores up. Okay, so you're going to have 0.75 plus 0.5 plus 0.75, and so I come out with a total score of a 2. And that's my SGO score for this SGO. Okay, so that's how that works out. Now here, after you figure that out, what you can write here is, this notes here would be, if you're going to adjust your SGO at all before the end of the year, before you give your post-test, you're going to write down your rationale here about why you need to edit your SGO. Okay, so that's very important to fill in this box if you're asking to edit your SGO. If you are not, then do not put anything in the notes box. And then here, you're going to, after you do your SGO and you go before your annual evaluation meeting, you're going to type in this box any successes, any challenges, any lessons you learned about this, about teaching and student learning from doing the SGO process, steps to improve your SGOs for next year. You're going to type that out, just a quick narrative, and then this was what you'll bring to your annual evaluation meeting, and you'll sign off on it. So your evaluator, and that's your SGO. Okay, so a little bit complicated, but really not so bad. And just check your math, because obviously I screwed up a little bit, and that's the part that is most challenging for us non-math teachers. If you have any questions, feel free to ask supervisors, principals, anybody who's willing to help, other colleagues who have already mastered this form. And good luck with everything. Thanks.